Is your finger hovering over the buy now button for that stack shot that you've been dreaming about for 3 years? Don't click it just yet. You see, I have some potentially new information that you may want to hear before you make that decision. Starting tomorrow, I am going to be doing the most intensive and in-depth evaluation of a product that we've ever attempted on this channel. I am getting ready to stress test the WeMacro automated focus stacking rail. So in the coming weeks, this thing is going to be with me constantly. I'm going to shoot with it as my primary rail. In the studio, I'll be shooting with this in the field. It'll be on a tripod, it'll be in a macro cage. It's going to have a heavy load and a super light load. It's going to be balanced and unbalanced. It's going to be mounted on a base and mounted just as it is. I'm going to find the weaknesses in this thing, and I'm going to share with you everything I find. This is going to be the most thorough product evaluation of a macro rail you've ever seen. You can expect to see 3 videos, not including this one. In this video, I'm going to do an abbreviated unboxing, and I'm going to give you some first impressions that were formed in the process of unpacking this. In the first actual video, I am going to do the product review, and I'm going to share with you everything I find out about this piece of equipment. In video number 2, I will show you how to set this thing up, how to get your controller set up, how to get your phone app working. I'll also show you how to mount your camera, how to mount the various accessories. I'll basically do everything I did for the stack shot. In the third video, I am going to do a head-to-head comparison with none other than the stack shot. By the end of the third video, you will be in a position to know for sure whether or not you want to press that buy now button or whether you want to go look for another button. I don't know. We'll have to see. I have been wanting to do this comparison review for a long time, and I am very grateful to William over at WeMacro for making this copy available to me to use for these tests. It's a big deal for me, and it's a big deal for you. I know a lot of you are considering this rail or possibly another one, and I want this to be the most useful videos for you so that you can make the best decision that you can. So in today's video, I briefly want to give you my first impressions based on unpacking the 2 boxes that this equipment came in. I have been assured that I received the boxes in the manner that a purchaser would receive them when they ordered the device. And it's been nothing but surprises, actually, right from the get-go. I order a lot of equipment from China. And I do that for several reasons. I think that many of the Chinese companies that I buy from and have dealt with in the past are good companies. They make good equipment. It's not often the most expensive equipment, but I have lots of it that I've been using for years and years with no complaints. As you know, WeMacro is a Chinese company. They are based in China. But this rail didn't come from China. This came from their new warehouse in Los Angeles, I believe. It's on the West Coast of the United States, which is why it was only a couple of days between my talking to William and my having this rail in hand. And when the package arrived, much to my surprise, I was expecting it to be a month. And that's what I expect now if I order anything from China. But like I say, 2-3 days later, it was on my porch. It was also on my porch in a monsoon. It was bucketing down with rain. The package consisted of 2 boxes that were taped together with a heavy piece of strapping tape, not sticky tape, the heavy nylon stuff. And the whole thing was wrapped in a plastic bag. The plastic bag was torn, and the inside was absolutely drenched, and I thought, this is not good. I brought it in, took off all the wet packaging, took off the outer to wrap, and the cardboard boxes were wet too. But when I cut the strapping and opened up the first box, every single nut and bolt in that box was individually wrapped and in a sealed Ziploc bag. Every single piece. And when I say every single piece, that's a lot of pieces. It's a lot of plastic bags. But every single piece was sealed in a padded, waterproof bag of some kind and labeled with exactly what it was, exactly what it was for, exactly where it went. And every single piece inside both boxes was bone dry. Amazing. The second box was a much bigger box. Also, everything was wrapped individually. Everything was bone dry. So one of the boxes contained a user manual. It's obviously the product of a lot of work. That is for sure. The diagrams, the drawings, the listings, everything has been done meticulously. It's just got the look of a manual that has been put together by a committee. And it's a little bit hard to follow. Compared to the online documentation of the competition, it's poor. But the online documentation of the competition is some of the best I've ever seen. I mean, the Stackshot documentation is just perfect. There is an invitation to join a Facebook group, some instructions on how to assemble a couple of the parts, but most importantly, there is a parts list. There is a list of what is included in the package. I went through both packages line by line, and every item listed on the extensive inventories down to individual bolts and washers were present, right where they said they would be. That was really nice to know that somebody had taken a lot of time to pack these boxes to make sure that everything was in there. There's nothing worse than assembling a complex piece of equipment like this and the stand to find that you're missing some important piece that you can't just go to the hardware store and buy. So there are a couple of pieces I'm not exactly sure what they're for, but that'll be fun to figure out. There was one silly little thing that shouldn't have made any kind of impression on me, but it did. Each of the boxes contained a card that was signed or was written, "Thank you, thanks for choosing WeMacro." And because there were two boxes, there were two cards, and I looked at them and I thought, yeah, they put one in each box. They must print these off by the million. And then I looked a little more closely at them. They don't actually print these off. They write these. These are written by the person that packed the box. It was the same person, but these are different. There are several very obvious differences in how they were written. And that to me it's significant, strangely gratifying. I'm glad they did that. I think that's a really nice touch. A company that thinks that is important is also going to think wrapping every single piece of equipment individually to ensure that nothing happens to it in transit. They'll think that's important too. And they did. So exactly what good is a first impression anyway? Well, if it's good, not much. If it's bad, a lot. So my first impressions of this device were overwhelmingly positive. And part of the reason for that was I was surprised. I was surprised by the way everything was packaged. I told you I'd show you the package. This was the soaking wet box. I'm not going to put it up on the table. The bottom's still wet. But I just wanted you to see the amount and the quality of packing that was in here. Everything, every piece was packed in layer upon layer of bubble wrap, and inside of all of that were these Ziploc bags. So, as I say, everything was bone dry and completely intact, which is a good first impression. So let's look at some of the stuff that was in these two boxes. The rail itself is every bit as sturdily built as the stack shot. I'm going to get into all of the details when I compare the two. It appears to have a smaller lead screw with a finer thread. It has an anti-shock connector, which is nice. These things have a tiny bit of give in them, which reduces the wear on the lead screw. But everything looks well engineered and well put together. The fit and finish, just fantastic. And it is solid and it's beautiful. It really is. It has lots and lots of screw holes everywhere, all threaded, and makes it a real breeze to put together. It also has a very sturdy, heavy-duty connector, which is another thing that will probably come up again. So anyway, the rail blew me away. It weighs as much, if not a little bit more, than my long rail, which is impressive. I think the motor's the same. With the WeMacro, of course, comes the WeMacro controller. Now, this doesn't look like the controller you'd be used to with a stack shot, and that's because this is kind of an interface with your computer or your phone. This is the shutter release here. This drives the motor. This is the power switch, and you have a programming USB input, and you have a power slot here that you can put a battery pack on if you're using this outdoors like I'm going to be. This is a little bit less finely finished than the rail itself. It's a little on the flimsy side, but you know, it's what it is. It contains a couple of circuit boards, and that's it. I actually have found that when I'm using the rail vertically, this is a perfect shape to actually attach it to the rail and get it up off the table and out of the way. That sounded like something important that just went bouncing across the floor. I hope it wasn't. You know how if you order something from B&H, they'll send it to you, and inside the box they'll put a handful of candy? Well, they have with me. They might not like you as much as me, but they do that with me. And then if you order something from Thor Labs, they put a bunch of healthy food in there, like power bars and other things, which is why I never order from Thor Labs, by the way. They need to stop that and put real food in their boxes. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed that the WeMacro, they sent what is obviously a Chinese snack, a bunch of them, whole box full of them. They are utterly tasteless. You can't chew them apart. They just stay the same. You end up having to swallow them whole. I ate about 2 dozen of them. They do fill you up, but I wouldn't buy them. I wouldn't. They need to switch to candy as well. It comes with a pretty standard rail, which is actually the way I like my rails. I don't need them to be super fancy. It's got a nice arc of Swiss dovetail on the bottom. This comes in handy in both the horizontal and the vertical setup. There are two things I'm going to be critical about of all of the very cool attachments and accessories that they sent for building your rig, which is basically everything you need to build your rig. They sent two things that I think are disappointing and not in keeping with the overall quality of everything else. One is this tripod, which presumably is intended as a specimen holder, but gosh, it's really kind of flimsy. It looks like you could sneeze on it and it would fall apart. Yeah, so not real impressed with this. The second thing was almost like having a flashback. This was my first macro rail, and there's nothing wrong with it. I did a lot of good photography with this thing, and yeah, I think it's probably this is a very much entry level 4-way slider. and there's nothing actually wrong with it. You can't use it for any type of precision movement. It has a rack and pinion gearing in here that's not very precise. In fact, it's not even remotely precise. But yeah, like I said, I got used to using it and used it for years and years. But I think it would be better if they left this out and put in a quick release clamp or something and let you get a rail that would be a little bit more consistent with the overall quality of everything else, is all I'm saying. This is a bit of yeah. Shall I say no more about that? In fact, I don't think I'll say anything else about this at all, because I'm not going to use it when I set up either of the rigs. I'm going to use something else. But yeah, we'll leave that as is for now. But to counterbalance that, one of the nicest parts of the whole thing is this awesome vertical rig. Now, this is built like a tank. This is really thick, like half-inch thick aluminum plate with these big heavy-duty L brackets, and these are M8 screws that bolt the whole thing together. This isn't going anywhere, and this does not vibrate. It's got these rubber feet that you can level. You can level the platform absolutely flat with these, and a spirit level. Yeah, I was really impressed with this. And you talk about an easy setup for a vertical rig. You just stick a quick release plate. They give you 3. A quick release plate up here. Put your index rail on here if you want some extra height, just like so. And then put the rail on. Either way, and you're good to go. And it is solid. I had the D850 on it last night. No problem at all. There are a couple of brackets. I'm not exactly sure what they're for, but they will have a use. Now, when it comes to cables, I'm pretty sure that when you order one of these, you order the cable that goes to your camera. But because William wasn't, because I wasn't clear with William about the various cameras that I would be using, the Fuji, the Nikons, who knows what all I would use. He sent me the 10-pin Nikon and every other Sony, Canon, Fuji, all of them. So, and here's another beautiful thing. They give you an extension cord. So if you're outdoors, you don't have to have everything bunched up together on the tripod. You've got a little bit of room to reach out. Very nice quick release clamps with screws. Everything comes with the hardware to attach it. So these come with the countersunk screws. There's only one problem, is one of them has a safety lock, a spring-loaded cap that goes in this hole. You have to push it to slide the rail on and off. Only you can't slide the rail on and off because this is not designed for use with the quick release clamps that have the button. There's no way for it to get over that ridge. So once your rail's on, it's on forever, because the clamp doesn't open enough to pull the rail out. So once you slide it in, it's hard to get out. I did get it out, but there you go. And there's 3 of them, and this is one with the plate in it. Very nice, above average for the kind you'd order inexpensively on the internet, and you don't need anything more than this. They hold very well. Let me see, more cables. There's a cable for connecting a power bank to the controller when you're outdoors, which is nice. There is a cable for connecting your Canon if you have one. There's a big, long, very nice data USB connector to connect the controller to your computer. It's got an extra foot, not quite sure why, and it's got some nylon screws that are meant to support your extension tubes when you're using big objectives. I wouldn't do that if I was you. I would use the rail that they gave you and put a couple of ring clamps on it and hold your lens securely so it doesn't damage the flange of your camera. It's got an extra nubbin for attaching to this rail, so you can put something else on this. I found that this was perfect for this alone. This plate and this arm will save you $100 in parts to build a rig, because if you're going to build a vertical rig, you have to build all of this. This is just a regular bendy arm from one of my bendy arm devices, and it's got the holes already pre-drilled and threaded for you with 1/4-20. So that's a nice touch, a really nice touch. And yeah, using this as a horizontal rig, you've already got the rail all set up and ready to go. So it really is a one-stop solution. It's everything you need. I really, as I start building this out, I'll probably find some things that I didn't think of, but I don't know. There's the bags of hardware that come with it. It looks like you could build an ocean liner with what's left over. So, first impression, a thoughtful, careful, considerate company with a super competitive, apparently high quality product. Not even going to talk about the build of this yet until I've got it set up and have used it several hundred times. But first impressions are, this is way better than I thought it would be. This is way better than I thought it would be. And nothing falls short of my expectations for a premium product than possibly the slider and definitely the little tripod thing. Other than that, this looks first rate. I can see this being the kind of thing that you buy once and that's it, because none of this stuff looks very breakable, even by me. Even by Arlen could probably get away with using this stuff. So first impressions, a really solid one. I'm delighted to have an opportunity to give this a workout, and I am going to give it a workout. You had better believe it. In the next video, I'm going to do a formal product review. The second proper video will be the instructions on how to set it up and use it. And then in the third and last video, we're going to compare it to the Stack Shop and see what's what, see what my recommendation is. And yeah, so far so good. I'm impressed. Let's see if they can keep that up when we actually start taking pictures with it. If you want more macro stuff, like all of the macro stuff, consider coming over to Patreon. The folks over at Patreon all agree to chip in $10 towards my salary a month, and as a result of that, they're my bosses. So they tell me what to do and I do it. So I will see you in the next video or at the next live event, or preferably over at Patreon if you come to your senses and come join. And yeah, I'll talk to you again then, and looking forward to this next video. Take care.